Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Uflex Limited Q2FY25 earnings conference call hosted by Dolat Capital. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sachin Bobade from Dolat Capital. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ramaya, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of Dolat Capital, I welcome you all to the Q2FY25 earnings conference call of Uflex Limited. Hope you all and your family members are staying safe and healthy. From the management side, we have with us Mr. Rajesh Bhatia, Group President and Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Surjit Pal, Vice President, Investor Relations. Now I hand the floor to Mr. Surjit Pal for their opinion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sachin. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today for the Q2 FY25 earnings call of the Uflex Limited. Let me draw your attention to the fact that on this call, our discussion will include certain forward-looking statements, which are predictions, projections, or other estimates about future events. These estimates reflect management's current expectations about the future performance of the company. Please note that these estimates involve several risks and uncertainties that could cause our actual result to differ materially from what is expressed or implied. I would now request Mr. Rajesh Bhatia, Group President and CFO, for this opening remarks, following which we will open the forum for an interactive session and answer a question and answer session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Surajit. Thanks for the introduction and welcome all the participants on this call. The underlying for the Q2 is that it has been a continuance of the good momentum what we started the Q1 with, and the same momentum continues in the packaging films business, India and overseas, and that's what is reflected in results. Even on the packaging side, especially our packaging, aseptic packaging, this is normally Q2 and Q3 are normally a lean season, but still in this season we've seen a much higher capacity utilization level at about 93%, with 83% in the last year. The packaging film prices in India are much better. Overseas could be still better, but they'll be, because there are a lot of exports happening from India, so the prices are remaining in a sort of check. But I think the volume has picked up in those markets as well, and that augurs well. So to give you perspective on the numbers, you would have gone through those, but still I'll recreate them. So the top line consolidated, we had a 13.7% increase on a YOY basis to about 3,853 odd crores. And the backdrop is that the packaging films revenue witnessed a growth of 23.4% on a year-on-year basis. So this 13.7% YOY growth, what we see in the Q2 is backed by a 23.4% YOY growth in the packaging films business revenue. The sales volume for the Q2 are up 10.9% year-on-year, again driven by the packaging films sales volume growth of about 14.6%. The Q2 standalone revenue increased by standalone now I'm talking about, that increased by 19.3% YOY to about 1970 crores. Again, driven by the packaging films revenue growth of 39% YOY. And Q2 standalone sales volume are up by 4.2% YOY, driven by the packaging films sales volume growth of 10.8% YOY. As I said earlier, the aseptic packaging business continues to do extremely well, and this quarter we achieved the capacity utilization of 93%, even in this lean period. The same period last year, we had achieved a capacity utilization of 83%. So on a YOY basis, this quarter, we've seen a 17.6% volume growth, which is there. Even in the month gone by, which is October, the sales volume is up by about 24%. So if I talk about October last year versus October this year, so the good momentum in that business is continuing. And post the capacity expansion to 12 billion packs, which we are expecting by the end of December. So the Q4 will be the first period during this fiscal FY25, during which we have that capacity available. So we are expecting as of now that business, that enhanced capacity, overall utilization for Q4 will be about 83%, even post the enhanced capacity to 12 billion packs, which means that on a YOY basis, we have a 20% volume increase in the sales volume. That's what about the aseptic business. Now, India BOPET industry in particular, I just thought I'll make a mention to you. Last quarter when we were there on this call, I had indicated that towards the margins had the prices and the margins had increased, but more or less they were reflected in the period post June 15, and so the full impact for the quarter was not there. But this quarter we've seen the full impact and of the increases what happened till 15th of June 2024, and thereafter also there have been increases. So if I see on a Q2 versus Q1 at a gross margin level, the margins have gone up by, industry-wide margins have gone up by about 200 odd percent. And even in the current quarter, over the Q2 quarter, the margins are up by about 20%, which means that, if the prices continue to remain the way they are, the current quarter packaging films business, at least on the PET side, will also be better in this quarter, even over the Q2, which on an industry-wide basis has already seen about 200% plus, the gross margin increase. The BOPP industry also, the gross margin increased by about 36% in Q2 over Q1. But unfortunately, we've seen some price correction in that market, and in the current quarter that is going on, we are down to almost at the Q1 level. So whatever we achieved in Q2, if we talk at the current level, all those gains have been given away. On an industry-wide basis, again, the BOPET exports from India in the quarter reduced by about 10% in Q2 over Q1, largely because the prices were good, domestic prices were good in this quarter. And even for BOPP, they were down 5% Q2 versus Q1. Again, largely because of the higher domestic prices, the exports contracted a bit. For Uflex India in Q2, the volume growth in the PET business has been about 14 odd percent, and while the overall packaging films volume growth we've seen about 10.8%, but for the PET, where we have a dominant capacity and BOPP capacity, our BOPP capacity is rather, not too high. So we witnessed about 14% volume increase in Q2. Having said that, all the good things, the flexible packaging margins in this quarter were impacted, and as usually happens when the packaging films prices go up so steeply, there is always a lag effect in the packaging, flexible packaging margins, because their prices are fixed for the last, indexes which are pertaining to the previous month or quarter. And, when those prices, when the raw material prices increase, so during that quarter or that month, you don't get such increases, but, those increases come your way in the next month or the next quarter, as per the terms to the customer. So we've seen a contraction in margins in that, given that we had a steep increase in the packaging films prices, and that's what, sort of kept the margins, brought the margins down a bit, both on a consolidated level as well as on a standalone level in this quarter. The exceptional items, again, the currency devaluation in Nigeria, Mexico, Egypt continue to affect those, emanates out of those translation losses. As I had explained earlier also, in Nigeria, we do business in Naira, in Mexico in pesos, and Egypt in Egyptian pounds. And then the business which is transacted in the local currency has to be converted into the reporting currency, which is INR, and there are devaluations of that currency vis-a-vis INR. So you will always have a situation where you will have those translation losses, which are exceptional in nature. We've been seeing Nigeria and Egypt and Mexico, all currencies are devaluing continuously, at least in the last 2 fiscal years. And even in this quarter, we've seen a currency loss of 79 crores in Nigeria, which was 99 crores in Q1. And in Mexico, we've seen a 14 crore loss, which was 51 crore in Q1. And in Egypt, the loss is 0, which was 31 crores in Q1. So while the losses have come down from a level of 180 crore in Q1 to about 92, 93 crores in Q2, but they still continue to appear on the P&L side. Ignoring these exceptional losses and ignoring some of the end-to-end of the currency swaps that we have, the normalized EBITDA for this quarter is 438 crores versus 408 crores in Q2 of FY24. Standalone EBITDA is up at 215 crores this quarter versus 168 crores in Q2 of the same period last year. And again, that is because the packaging films business has seen a much higher prices and margins in the current financial year, in the current quarter. And but having said that, there is an impact of the packaging, flexible packaging margin contraction because of the reasons I just explained. And the India business stands at an EBITDA of 215 crores versus 168 crores in Q2. The overseas business EBITDA is 223 crores this quarter versus 240 crores in the Q1. This has been impacted a little because of the higher energy costs in Hungary business in the Q2, which are now normalized in the current quarter. Our gross debt as on 30th September and net debt is at about 5,800 odd crores. We versus March position was about 5,600 odd crores. So we've seen a net debt increase of only 200 crores in this current fiscal. And, there are a few projects which are under pipeline, and we are seeing completion happening in PET chips plant, which we are expecting will come in H2. Expected the timeline is between January to March. This will be a game changer for our offshore business, given that almost, while this will take care of our requirements of the PET chips in our Egypt business, but this will also cater to our European operations, our Nigeria operations, as well as our operations in the UAE. So all of them will become fully self-sufficient in terms of their raw material requirements. And still we have certain surpluses over there, which we can, depending on the dynamics of the trades and all that, which we can export to Mexico or US business. So that, on a long-term basis, will take away the fluctuation in the quality and in the pricing of a key raw material for the PET industry, and will augur well for the overall business in the years to come. This apart, we announced expansion of new greenfield capacity in Egypt for our aseptic business. As we think that aseptic business in India has now has been operating at more than 100% capacity for the last few years, and we see tremendous increase in growth, tremendous increase in exports in that business, I think. And today, if we say that we are looking at about 35 to 40% exports coming in India from India's aseptic packaging business, by exporting the aseptic packaging to the other world markets. But having tasted that success in that business, I've been saying over the last few calls that business looks very exciting, and it's the time to take it to the global market. So we chose Egypt, especially because we know we are already there. It's quite a substantial business side for us. The top parameters in Egypt is the manpower and energy costs are quite akin to what you have in India. And it has an advantage that of a treaty advantage, especially when you're looking at exporting to the Europe market. I think you have that advantage of nil duty when you export from Egypt into Europe. But apart from Egypt so Egypt also consumes today close to about 5 billion packs a year, which it all imports. So that's the natural market. We are looking at the markets in Africa, which we are currently serving, the Middle East also. But at some point in time, we know that we have been exporting with to our international customers, and at times we've seen in season that because of that, sometimes we are not able to meet the local demand. So the local demand has always been a priority. It's only that during the lean period, which starts actually after 15th of August and goes up till end of December, in India, especially when the winter season sets in, the requirement goes down, and we've been trying to fill our plant with export orders during this time. But you can't really pick and choose of the timing. So your customers would always need the product throughout the year. So while the seasonality may be there for India, but for the world market, it will be a different seasonality. So we thought that Egypt is a good venue where we could set up this. It has a large market of its own, doesn't have any facility. There's no producer currently, so that market plus the European market will come very handy. And since a lot of customers whom we are exporting, we are already pre-qualified, so the time taken for the customer qualifications for this time around will be much less as compared to what we witnessed in the first emphasis facility at Sanand. I think just to give you a number that, the PET chips facility in Egypt, when it is fully operating at full capacity utilization, will also boost our EBITDA by about, if we are expecting normalized EBITDA of 2,000 crores, which will boost our EBITDA by another 5% or so. And the aseptic packaging Egypt on a full capacity utilization will also give us a 20% higher EBITDA over our current level of operations. If we talk about H1 also at the same time, H1, if you see the EBITDA has grown up by about 24% if we compare H1 of last fiscal versus H1 of this fiscal. And again, it's all largely driven by the packaging sales volume, which is up at about 13.8% on a year-on-year basis. And aseptic packaging sales volume up by about 10%, YOY. Now, just one second. That position, more or less, I have already said. So the consolidated EBITDA for H1 is 903 crores versus it's gone up by about 23.9% this H1 over the last fiscal H1. And again, driven by the packaging sales of 13.8% and aseptic of close to about 10%. And so the standalone EBITDA for H1 stands at 429 crores, which is up close to about 21% over the same period of last year. So if we see H1 FY25 versus H1 FY24, you will see a much better performance both on the packaging film side. Aseptic packaging continues to grow from on every sequential quarter basis. And now with the new capacity in India coming on stream as well as international capacity coming on stream in FY26, I think that's one business which has been contributing higher EBITDA margins, and we look forward to replicate that success of the aseptic India in the overseas markets as well. That's been basically, in the summary for the financial performance for the Q2 as well as H1. We are now open to any Q&A that you may like to ask us. Some of the details which are not available instantly, we'll note down and try to get back to you as soon as possible, because sometimes some of the details which are very you guys keep on looking at the numbers day in and day out. But we'll try to answer them as best as possible, dealing which we'll be happy to come back with you certain numbers, what you may be looking forward to, and certain numbers which we can't share also we'll also take you for. Thank you for everything.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touch-tone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Aman Kumar Santhalia from AK Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So my question is that in the last con call, you have said a lot about the recycling business. So this time, I think you have not given the utilization level of recycling business because you have set up a few plants overseas and few plants in India. And nothing is talked much about the recycling in your this opening remark. So whether now we are not that much optimistic about the recycling business going forward?
No, we are very much optimistic about the recycling business. But, you know, some of the EPR guidelines in Europe and in India are coming. Like I'm told, Europe, the new EPR guidelines which mandates the recycling comes into play from 1st of January, and in India from 1st of April or 1st of June. So there was nothing while the facilities are there, they are running also as well. But, you know, what we've been saying is the real momentum comes only when you look at, you know, when the laws are enacted and, you know, people are forced to, you know, spend extra money in terms of, you know, complying with those requirements. So that is why, you know, why we remain upbeat about that business, and that's we see that over the next few years that will also become a very formidable business for us. And but this quarter we've given some certain numbers in the presentation what we have achieved. If you want, I can talk about those numbers, but I think those presentations are with you, and you can, you know, look at in detail where we've given PCR, MLP, and all that, what we have achieved in terms of the production in this quarter. But
so we have
that the main major theme for next few years, aided of course by the legislation changes in the world markets and India where we operate in. Now in India also, frankly, there have been a few, you know, few times the government has postponed the compliances and all that. So, you know, because not everybody is ready for it, and you know, ultimately in this industry when it's relating to the food packaging, you know, you can't take chances with that. So it's the whole industry sometimes is not prepared. If we are prepared, our preparedness is much ahead of them. Still, that does not count, and the government may take a view that, you know, we need to postpone it by another quarter or 6 months and all that. But, you know, having said that, this will all come of, you know, regulation only. We are ready to, you know, sort of.
Sir, right now we are exporting around 40% of our aseptic packaging capacity. So
35.
production 35 to 40%.
हाँ, देखिए उसमें क्या होता है कि सीजन जब इंडिया में होता है ना, तो एक्सपोर्ट्स हम लोग कम कर लेते हैं. But otherwise, generally you can take about for the year as a whole about 35%.
35 से 40%, सर. लेकिन सर अगर हम लोग we are expanding our capacity by 5 billion pack, तो और हम लोग जो इजिप्ट में प्लांट लगा रहे हैं, वो इजिप्ट का प्लांट will take care of the market which we are exporting. So definitely एक तो इंडिया में right now 7 billion में वो 40% ऐड हो जाएगा, and again 50% we are increasing the capacity 5 billion pack. So ये माल कहाँ बेचेंगे हम लोग इंडिया के अंदर में, कहाँ कौन सा सेक्टर में? बिकॉज FMCG सेक्टर इस में उतना बड़ा ग्रोथ दिख नहीं रहा है, तो वो ये कहाँ जाएगा ये इतना बड़ा?
कोई भी लगेगा ना तो उसमें टाइम लगेगा ही लगेगा। एक डे वन से हमेशा नई चीजें हो जाती। तो हमने पहले 3.5 बिलियन पैक्स का प्लांट लगाया था। We took about 3 years to come up to a decent number in that. जो next 3.5 billion लगाया था, that was sold out on day one itself. This now when we are expanding to about 12 billion packs, we are expecting about 80 to 85% capacity utilization level in the Q1, and obviously Q2 will be a better capacity utilization number. Now the next plant we are going to achieve in FY26 and beyond. Now, you will have to make a big thing here also, but the markets are so huge. Look at when we started in India, we already had Tetra Pak in India, who was already manufacturing. Now, Egypt, which is consuming about 5 billion packs a year, has no Tetra Pak over there. So the Egypt is all importing its requirements, so that's the market which comes to you very naturally. And then when we look at exporting to Egypt, to Europe from there, you have an advantage from the thing. While your question is right in terms of, and we may not have all the answers on the day one view, but we feel that, we will be able to replicate our India success in this business in Egypt very, very successfully and much earlier than what we achieved in our India business. We're very, very upbeat on that capacity. In India, we already suffered for a couple of years because we didn't have the capacity to cater to our domestic as well as our offshore customers. But with this enablement, if we have to swing capacities between India or Egypt plants serving a few offshore territories, I think we can always swing that. We can look to garner a larger market share in India. And if we all believe that next 5 years, when you become a $5 or $7 trillion economy, the multiplier impact of that on the consumption economy is going to be 10x of that GDP multiplier. So you have to set up capacities. You have to look at expanding in a market which is growing and which is giving you a healthy EBITDA margins as well. We've seen packaging films business segment, what kind of a EBITDA margin it takes, what kind of cyclicality it has gone in the last few years. A few good years were COVID years and all that, and thereafter, except for Q1 and Q2, you've seen single-digit EBITDA margins from industry, as a whole. So clearly, there are requirements. We clearly contacted by more customers as to can you give us more, and we know our bottleneck now. We can't give more than what we are currently doing, so we had to settle this capacity.
But the liquor industry will be the biggest game changer because still there are few states where the Tetra Pak is not, this aseptic packaging is not allowed in the liquor industry. So if they allow that, I think it will be a big market for us.
अगर देखिए लिकर में तो संतालिया जी अभी मेरा हिसाब से 3 स्टेट्स होंगी सिर्फ जहाँ पे अलाउड है. If all the states in India were to allow this to take care of the spurious liquor issues, I think from the current capacity we will need at least 3x of the capacity in India only to cater to those that market. But having that market is there only in India because only and we will obviously try to look at Africa also, बट बिकॉज इंडिया में क्योंकि illicit liquor का मार्केट बहुत बड़ा है, Bihar and all these places, or you have a lot of spurious liquor being tagged and sold and all that. So I think over the period you will find that many states will allow liquor to be tagged in aseptic, and the customer also knows that this is one packaging, मतलब जिसमें आपको spurious नहीं मिलेगा. Like I tell you, when I buy ghee for my own home, no, I buy only Tetra Pak ghee, मतलब aseptic packaging ghee, because that is the only one which is pure. बाकी आप प्लास्टिक के डब्बे में ले लो, आप पॉलीपैक में ले लो, किसी में भी ले लो, your chances of going wrong are at least 99x of the other packs.
Okay. Sir, one more question. ये जो हंगरी में
May we request that you return to the question queue for follow-up questions, as there are several other participants waiting for their turn.
Okay, no issue.
Thank you so much. The next question is from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah, namaskar sir, and thank you for the opportunity. सर करंटली हमारे बोपेट फिल्म्स में मार्जिन क्या हैं? ये लास्ट क्वार्टर में एग्जिट क्या किया हमने और अभी क्या ट्रेंड कर रहे हैं?
मैंने ना I refrain from giving margins, and that is why I said if I see Q1, Q2 में there has been a 200% rise in the margin, gross margin, and from Q2 versus current quarter also there is a 20% increase in the margin. But margins is a very blend which on user.
Sir, your voice is cracking, sir.
Hello.
फिर से बोलिए sir.
I'm saying I refrained from giving an absolute number of the margins, and I gave the margins in percentages. So as I said, Q2 May there has been more than 200% increase in the BOPET margin and 35 to 40% increase in the BOPP films margin. Current quarter also there is a BOPET continues to be strong, and over Q2 there is a 20% growth in the margins in that business, but in the BOPP industry the margins are today in this quarter are the same as what was there in Q1.
Right. And sir, what are the dynamics for the BOPET film industry currently that are favoring sustainable and increase in margins Q on Q also, and how do you see, आप कैसा देखते हैं सर इस ट्रेंड को H2 के लिए?
So I'm quite confident that H2 margins in the BOPET industry will remain at reasonable levels. Frankly, I feel that the BOPET margins currently what are prevailing, there may be a little scope for them to be better. And it's a dynamic situation because the BOPET exports have gone down by 10% in this quarter versus the Q1. So with a more product availability in the domestic market, the market may take a cut in the margins again. Then again exports will rise, and then this phenomenon will continue. But the current margin on a more or less I think the BOPP margins should be better than what they are. And hopefully in H2 those margins will be at a Q2 level, which will be great for the industry. Having said that, the demand supply equilibrium in the PET versus BOPP it is better, but still the BOPP prices are lower because PET में अभी काफी लोग एक्सपोर्ट बहुत कर रहे हैं पिछले एक साल से. So PET exports have really jumped from India, which means that the capacity available to cater to the local market is lesser, and that's why the prices have firmed up.
नहीं सर, जैसे बोपेट में जो आप एक्सपोर्ट का ट्रेंड बता रहे हैं, दैट मीन्स कि ग्लोबली हम कम्पिटिटिव हैं और ग्लोबली कैपेसिटी नहीं है इसको मीट करने के लिए, इसीलिए हम एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं?
So, export opportunity is always there because India is a much cheaper cost jurisdiction as compared to the Europe or the America. When India had an overcapacity, so everybody resorted to exporting the product from India and utilizing their capacity, with the result that when that extra capacity from India got absorbed in the overseas market, the margins in India improved, which means that the overseas market remained under because of the large export from India. Otherwise, the packaging films margins in the Europe and America would also have been much higher had India not exported so much of volumes into Europe and America.
Small question and then I join the queue, sir. तो अभी globally BOPET की utilization levels एक्स ऑफ इंडिया क्या है, मैंने अगर आप ज्योग्राफी वाइज बता सकें, और अभी हमारी कंट्री में जो आपने एक्सपोर्ट की अपॉर्चुनिटी और जो डिमांड सिनेरियो बताया है उसके हिसाब से एज एन इंडस्ट्री यूटिलाइजेशन लेवल क्या होगी मेजर प्लेयर्स की?
तो इंडस्ट्री में जो पेट के और बीओपीटी के मार्जिन हैं, कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन है इन इंडिया, वो हमने अपने इंडिया के और ऑफशोर बिजनेसेस के सारे उसमें प्रेजेंटेशन में दे रखे हैं. So which will give you in the markets we operate in what are the levels, capacity utilization levels in those markets. And obviously we see that there is in the past we have achieved a much higher peaks in those markets, and so which means that today that is being serviced from India at a cheaper cost as compared to what is being produced in those markets or other players. In overseas markets, there was not an irrational capacity addition what we witnessed in India, and that's where somewhere the equilibrium, all the producers from India are trying to maintain the demand supply equilibrium in India by exporting the. So if you see the slide 9 of our presentation, you will find all the answers as to at what capacity utilization levels are all plants are operating. Poland and Hungary facilities, Poland especially, which is the PET, we have a capacity utilization currently of last quarter of about 68%, which was in Q1 at about 78%. But in the past, we have achieved, almost 100% capacity utilization in that facility itself. USA is more than 100%, so we are doing perfectly well over there. If you see Mexico, we are doing about 85%, but that is not because of any other thing. That is because the plant has some technical issues which are being looked into. In terms of demand of the product in the Americas market, I had explained on this call last time also that our combined capacity in Mexico and USA is about 8,000 tons a month, while we've been now selling for this fiscal at least at the rate of about 10,000 tons a month, which means that we are importing the product in those markets from other jurisdictions, especially Nigeria as well as India.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the explanation, sir. I'll go through the slide once again, and if I have any follow-up, I'll definitely. Sir, only concluding part was to Mr. Pal, as he also alluded earlier, that the management is taking all steps to create that value for shareholding community, wherein we investors are, it is very difficult for investing community to value the company because of various geographies, the type of businesses and the various subsidiaries there and the exchange complications also. So क्या steps सर मैनेजमेंट ले रही है या एनुअल में हम एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं जिससे राइट वैल्यू सर इन्वेस्टर्स को मिले हमारी कंपनी की?
So I think the best way, according to me, is to separate your commodity business from value-added business. From your packaging business would command a different multiples as compared to your packaging films business, your aseptic business, your chemicals business will command a different premium, and that's also a very substantial business for us. So, restructuring may be one way to unlock that value, which is quite common in the corporate, that you separate your businesses into separate companies so that each business is much more visible. And the second is that we have now been presenting to you our turnovers, our volumes from each of these businesses, the kind of margins we have in each one of these businesses. So I think before, I will suggest to all the investors who are on the call to look at, these details with much more insight and see that, what is the value. I think the management idea is that, when the businesses have achieved a substantial size and they need to be operated as a separate entity, only then we should look at the restructuring aspects of them. But when they are too much interdependent on each other and all that, then creating. So today, yes, we have the separate SBUs, but creating those, transferring those SBUs to separate companies will only emerge at a stage where the interdependence of the businesses are much lesser, and typically a packaging and a packaging film, flexible packaging and packaging films business, which has packaging film as its raw material. I think those linkages will have to come down pretty, sort of drastically. Again, some of the other initiatives which we had taken earlier, and I shared with you, that listing our offshore subsidiary in Dubai, in NYSE, and so some of those initiatives, again, we will, and the markets have not been there for the last couple of years for those initiatives to be implemented. But we'll surely implement those, and that is low-hanging fruit, that if you can list your offshore subsidiary. And when we were talking to our bankers on that, the valuations being offered by them were much more than India valuation. So obviously the India valuations would have got adjusted looking at the offshore business valuation. So we'll do that, be cognizant of that fact, including, subsidiary, carving out each one of the business. But let first it be of a substantial size. And as a first step, we can look to list our offshore subsidiaries to increase the shareholders' value.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'll join the queue.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all the participants present in the conference, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. The next question is from the line of Yash Dedhia from Maximal Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. You are.
Sir, about the US business, I wanted to know, after the recent political change in US, how do we foresee the market developing over there for us?
You're talking about the US markets or?
US markets, sir.
So we are very upbeat about US markets. With with all the focus of the new government, as we hear from the media and all that, that U.S. should get back to its core manufacturing also and stop importing the products from China and other jurisdictions. So I think we currently also we doing very well in the America market. As I said, that we already have got a deficit over there. So we surely look at more revenues coming from those markets, and if there's a need to grow in those markets as well, we take those decisions at an appropriate time. I had said in the last call also that this 2,500 ton deficit, the U.S. markets, which in the Americas, of course, not only U.S., in the Americas, cannot be left like that over a very long period of time. So at an appropriate stage, we would love to ensure that this deficit is met by way of producing these products in the local markets only. But today, because there is a surplus capacity of India and we are optimizing our overall company's plant utilizations, feeding the products to those markets. But on an overall basis, that's the second largest market globally after Europe, America, and we are, whether Trump or somebody else, I think one thing is certain, that U.S., given its dominant position in terms of consumption, will remain so, and that augurs well for every business, including ours.
Yes, sir. Understood. And sir, overseas, like in sir, the prices of moped and BOPP in overseas market, how are they shaping up?
As I had said that, there is a competition from cheaper imports into U.S. from India. So the prices are, sort of being are under check. But as the India market will start to ease in terms of its demand supply situations, the market will be the prices will be better. Given the fact that we are already operating at more than 100% capacity in those markets currently, despite the margin pressure, the prices pressure being there, that itself speaks volumes that, we are competitive in the markets. And obviously, as a U.S. manufacturer, over the the product coming from India, you definitely get a premium over there. But to the extent of the current premiums, no. I think there is a scope for them to improve, and it will improve over the next 6 months to a year's time or so. Because India market growth being at about 10 to 12%, that itself will mean that your propensity to export will keep on
reduce. Yeah. Understood, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Chirag Singhal from First Water Fund. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. So I wanted to ask you regarding the capex. So in Q2, it's mentioned that you have incurred total capex of 348.8 crores, and there is a breakup given. So it's mentioned that 122.4 crores is spent towards miscellaneous and maintenance activities. So if I remember correctly, I think 100 to 150 crores per year used to be our maintenance capex every year. So was there any one-off during the quarter? And for the full year, what is the total CapEx guidance? And if you can provide the split between growth and maintenance.
So I think as of now, what we have on the CapEx side is already disclosed to you, that what we spent on each one of those projects. So the two projects out of those four, actually 3 out of those 4, which are being completed in the current financial year itself. So there is about $18 million to be spent on our Egypt Fed facility project. There is about $2 million to be spent on our project for the CPP facility in Mexico. And then in Sanand also, I think maybe another 50 odd crores would be remaining to be spent in terms of the existing projects which we are completing this year. Then there is this $126 million which we have to spend on aseptic packaging, which will happen largely in FY26. So if you see the growth in the debt from March to September, this has been to the tune of about 200 crores, while we have spent in H1 capex of, how much we spent on H1 capex? 340. No, H1. Just 1 minute, I'm giving you.
Yeah.
629 crores in total H1 capex. So I think, as I had said earlier also, our existing commitment amortization is about 1,000 crores a year, which we are doing, and new capex is being done. New debt is being taken for that. But in the absence of any large ticket capex, including this one, so a large part of this 18 million plus 2 million plus 50 crores in Sanand is coming to an end in this year. So the next year when we get into, I think there'll be not more than $80 million of the capex what you need to carry to the next financial year. Is that okay?
Yeah, got it. So basically 1,000 crores per year for this year and next year based on the ongoing projects.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And so out of this, how much would be the maintenance capex? Like what is the maintenance capex?
Maintenance capex could be about 200 odd crores.
200 odd crores. Okay. So on an annual basis, it will still be around 200 odd crores. Because I asked you because in Q2 the number seemed very high.
So so some of the capex which is not incremental, like adding some of the balancing machines and all that also forms part of the maintenance capex only.
Okay. So secondly, what I wanted to know from you is regarding the overseas business. So if you look at the spreads in overseas, as in if you look at the EBITDA margins, then there is no improvement on a QOQ basis. Now, if you look at the Indian data, then clearly the industry spreads and prices have gone up significantly on a sequential basis. So you said that in overseas it is because of the dumping mainly coming from India. Did I get that right?
Yeah. So as I said, overseas margins could be better, but because currently there is Indian exporters are exporting a lot to Europe as well as America, so their prices are under a sort of check.
So is that the Q2 trend is continuing even in the current quarter, or you have seen some increase in the prices in your overseas operations?
Q3 also, we are more or less at the same number.
So despite this, do you believe that we'll be able to do that 2,000 crores plus EBITDA that you guided for the full year, or there will be some change in this?
No, I think so. We will get that because that number we were predicating that number on the basis of our Mexico CPP line coming into play, our PET chips in Egypt coming into play in November earlier, but now it is being delayed a bit, and our incremental Sanand capacity coming into play, for which, as I said, that on a Q and Q basis in Q4 will be 20% higher, sales volume in that. So existing business plus, as I said, Q2, Q3 में अभी BOPET margins are 20% higher over Q1, Q2, and the lag impact of what we had in Q2 for the packaging business, that will also be gone by. We'll have higher capacity available for the Sanand for Q4. The PET chip capacity will come into play, which will give you the savings, which may not give you a very large turnover unless you want to sell outside, but it will give you a saving in terms of your raw material costs. So 2,000 crores is pretty much in sight.
Got it. Okay.
अगर आप नॉर्मल देख लो तो हम लोग करीब 1800 करोड़ तो इस रन रेट पे कर ही लेंगे ना. अगर Q1 का रन रेट अगर हम ले लें तो नॉर्मलाइज EBITDA 1850 करोड़ तो दिख ही रहा है.
Correct. Got it. That would be it from my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Kaushik Poddar from KB Capital Markets Private Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just a minute. Let me get off the speaker just a minute. Yeah. Is there any other capex planned other than the last one that you had announced for the aseptic packaging at Egypt? Will there be anything more? Because we see that newer and newer capex come up unexpectedly, I guess. So is there at least a temporary pause after that?
Mr. Kaushik, sorry to interrupt you, but your voice isn't clear. I request you to please repeat your question.
Yeah. See, the last capex you have announced is for the expansion of aseptic packaging in Egypt. Is there any other capex that is on the table?
No, sir. As of now, there is nothing which is on the table, which is approved by the board and announced by us. Having said that, as I said earlier as well, that in the US market there is a clear gap today between what we sell and what we produce. So as and when the management may take a view that we need to have because that gap which is 2,000 to 2,500 tons today, in 2 years' time, we expect that gap may be 3,000, 3,500 odd tons. So you will have to take a call in terms of producing it locally. So that is one area where I see that as and when there is a management and the board call to take that we need to produce this locally rather than importing it from other jurisdictions. That is one thing which I find that is a low-hanging fruit. Other than that, I really don't think so. But having said that, we keep on looking at opportunities in terms of where we can get a good project in the existing lines of business and all that. But I don't think so there is any other than that possible in the packaging film. So there are three businesses only. The packaging films, the packaging, flexible packaging, and aseptic packaging. The packaging films business as of now, except for this gap in America, looks pretty full. There are scope for improving the existing capacity utilizations in Europe, in Nigeria, in Dubai, in Egypt. So the focus is on that because there is existing capacity available, which you will always give the first priority to use that to the hilt. The next one is aseptic, where we are already announced. So the total capacity is going to be about 24 billion packs, of which currently we be selling about from India in Q4 at a run rate of about 10 billion packs. So FY26, we'll see as to what extent we can utilize that capacity from there. But clearly, having shown the intent to increase that capacity from 12 to 24 billion packs, there is work to be done over the next few years in terms of absorbing and utilizing that capacity. Then our third large SBU is flexible packaging, in which where we don't have any international plans at all, as I've said many more times. And currently, we don't have any other plans to expand in India also in that.
Okay. And can we expect an EBITDA margin of 13-14% in the second half?
EBITDA margins for Q2, I think we are targeting about 13%, between 13.5%.
That is for Q3. It's for Q3.
No, I'm talking about H2.
Okay, H2, yes.
So we are targeting 13.5%. Let's see.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in the conference, please limit your questions to one per participant. The next question is from the line of Marcel, who is an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Bhatia Sahab, I have made some analysis on the finance cost and the exchange losses. So this is a very important question for the financial health of our organization. See, this since you are operating in some hyperinflation economy like Mexico and Nigeria, especially Nigeria, wherein the economy of the country is also going to be worse because of the oil prices dent from $85 per barrel to now $72. So, you can see that in the Q1 of financial 25, the Naira has devalued by 17.5%, and in Q2 devalued by 9%, and again till now devalued by 2%. So total 28% devalued. In Mexico, in Q1 devalued by 10.6%, in Q2 7.3%, and now 4%, only 22% devalued. So what I can see that in the last 1.5 years, we have lost about more than 1,250. We have lost about almost 1,100 crore rupees. We lost only in the exchange losses. So what our management is doing to contain these losses? Otherwise, on the one hand, EBITDA looks very fine, but that entire EBITDA is eaten by the finance cost and the exchange losses. This is number one. So how to mitigate these losses of exchange losses? Number one. And since these two, even Egypt is also passing through some trouble, but their exchange rate is a little bit stabilized. So more concern is in Mexico and Nigeria, and you are further expanding in Mexico. So how these loss will be contained? Because it can be contained only by having high margin from their product, or from Saudi Arabia. Number one. Number two, in the finance cost again we are spending. How much? We already spent about 900 crore rupees we spent in the last 1.5 years. So our entire profit is gone away, and we are now having net debt of 5,900 crore rupees. So ours is only one packaging company which is having such a high net debt. So there is very urgent need to inject the funds. And nowadays, for example, every company is launching QIP. So why don't our management seriously consider to have either preferential allotment or QIP launch, so that some 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 crore rupees is injected in the company, and the company should be made, relatively half debt should be released, so that the finance cost can come down, and otherwise whatever sales premium we have, it is being eaten regularly by the finance cost, and on the top, these exchange losses. And these exchange losses are not going to be reduced in the near future because of the economic situation, especially of the Mexico and the Nigeria. Please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for this extensive question. Must compliment you कि आपने बहुत डिटेल में स्टडी किया है in terms of the losses of the currency and all that. But sir, I'll only ask you one thing. When you are in India, तो आपके पास जो आपके पर्सनल पैसे हैं वो आप रुपी में काउंट करते हो या डॉलर में?
रुपीज में
ना। तो आपको अगर मेरे को मैं आपसे पूछूं कि आपके पास डॉलर में कितने रुपए हैं तो आप हमेशा कम बताओगे ना। हर साल का जब 72-70 का रुपया था तो आप कम तो अभी आपसे मैं पूछूं कि आपके पास उतने पैसे डॉलर में हैं और 2 साल बाद क्योंकि डॉलर में आपके पैसे कम क्यों हो गए? कि जेब में रुपए में तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा ना सर।
नहीं सर, इसमें फर्क पड़ा है बिकॉज रुपया जो अपना डिवेल्यू हो रहा है, इट इज डिवेल्यू बाई 3-4% पर ईयर, नॉट लाइक पाकिस्तान रुपी विच इज डिवेल्यू बाई 40%. आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ द सिचुएशन विच इज द एक्सेप्शनल सिचुएशन अमर्जिंग फॉर अ कंपनी इन मैक्सिको और 2 डिवेल्यूशन हाल में रिसेंटली लास्ट 1 ईयर में हो गया इसका इजिप्ट का एंड प्लस दिस नाइजीरिया तो अभी मैंने चेक किया एक्सचेंज रेट नाउ 1669 which is like in the on 31st March it was only 1306 against $1. So what I'm saying like हमारा पैसा तो वहाँ पर लूट रहा है सर, हमारे पैसा तो वहाँ पर जा रहा है ना। मतलब चाहे जिस सीजन देख लीजिए आप उसको, बिकॉज यदि सपोज ये लॉस नहीं होता तो हमारे पास ज्यादा होता।
अच्छा, मैं आपको समझाता हूँ। अभी अगर आप नाइजीरियन सिटीजन हैं और आपके पास 1 मिलियन नायरा है तो आप अपनी वेल्थ लोगों को नायरा में बताते हो या डॉलर में बताते हो?
डॉलर में because like my friend has been in the CIS country before, so I know that like wherever there is hyperinflation economy, even the local citizen whenever they get salary they immediately convert to dollar. तो हमारे यहाँ पर रुपी स्टेबल है तो हमको यहाँ पर रुपी से रुपी चलता है, बट जो वो कंट्री है उनको डॉलर देखना पड़ता है उनको, क्योंकि वहाँ पर लोकल करेंसी वहाँ पर वैल्यू नहीं। तो सर पॉइंट ये है कि देखिए मतलब देखिए आप जो बोलना चाह रहे हैं सर, लाइक आई विल नेवर एग्री टू द पॉइंट कि हमारी तो संपत्ति खत्म हो गई ना। हम इस कंपनी के मालिक इंडियन शेयर होल्डर है, उनकी तो वैल्यू खत्म हो गई या इन टर्म्स ऑफ रुपी। तो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग,
Mr. Marshall, may I request you to please ask your question offline? We need to move on to the next participant.
But this is a very important question. This is the most important question, ma'am. Like so far anybody has asked a question. And so Bhatia sir, my question is that like if the company makes some QIP, at least the finance cost can be released at least to some extent or to 50%.
सर यू आर वेरी राइट देयर। हमने आपको बताया भी था पहले कि हमने पहले कोशिश करी थी, बट उसमें क्योंकि ये सारा फॉरेक्स मार्केट्स में इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ गए, सारा मार्केट किसी का IPO के लिए खराब हो गया। हमने तो वी वर रेडी टू फाइल आवर प्रोस्पेक्टस विद NYSE, बट लास्ट मिनट पे हमारे एडवाइजर्स ने बताया अभी कोई फायदा नहीं है करने का, वी विल टेक इट अप एप्रोप्रिएटली। वो तो हमारे होराइजन में है ही करने का।
सर मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि इंडिया में QIP के लिए कम से कम आप 2000 करोड़ का QIP लेके आए, 50 करोड़ लेके आए तो कम से कम अपना फाइनेंस कॉस्ट हमारा कम 2.5 करोड़ कम होगा सर। ये फाइनेंस कॉस्ट में हमारा इस साल तो 700 करोड़ का लगने वाला है सर। इसी तो वन कंपनी
इंडिया में QIP नहीं लाएंगे क्योंकि इंडिया इज नॉट गिविंग अस द राइट वैल्यू करेंसी। तो हमारा यही आइडिया था जब हम ओवरसीज इन्वेस्टर से बात करते थे, दे वर लुकिंग एट एंटरप्राइज वैल्यूएशन ऑफ 10 to 12x। इंडिया में सबको 4 से 5x मिलता है सर। तो अगर मैं 10-12x पे अपनी ऑफशोर कंपनी लिस्ट कर दूंगा तो इंडिया प्राइसेस विल ऑब्वियसली रिफ्लेक्ट दोज रिवाइज्ड वैल्यूएशंस। तो उसके बाद में इंडिया को कंसिडर कर सकते हैं।
सर आपका बोलना ठीक है, बट मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ क्योंकि अभी हमारी कोई भी सब्सिडी इस पोजीशन में नहीं है, नाइदर मैक्सिको नॉर दिस नाइजीरिया, बिकॉज दे आर इन लॉसेस। So like you cannot go for IPO in the at least in the next 2 years until the exchange rate stabilizes और जो आपका नाइजीरिया है वहाँ पर तो उनकी कंडीशन खराब हो रही क्योंकि तेल का दाम जो $85 चल रहा था पर बैरल, अब उसका दाम $72 हो गया है। तो पता नाइजीरिया इसलिए खराब, इसलिए मेरी आपकी रिक्वेस्ट ये थी, आप जो बोले सर अच्छी बात है, वो हम भी एग्री करते हैं, बट दो सोल्यूशन आर नॉट अवेलेबल फॉर नेक्स्ट 2 years। तो एटलीस्ट इंडिया में कोई तरीके से फंडिंग करे या इसको चतुर्वेदी साहब बोले वो अपने पैसा लगाए, कुछ लगाए ताकि फाइनेंस कॉस्ट कम हो सके। फाइनेंस कॉस्ट लास्ट ईयर थी 535 करोड़, इस साल होने वाली 700 करोड़, 340 करोड़ ऑलरेडी साल हो गई। तो मेरा पॉइंट ये है, अदरवाइज कंपनी लॉसेज में जा रही है सर। देखिए मतलब आज पैकेजिंग कंपनी सब कंपनी कमा रही है सिवाय हमारी कंपनी के। तो इसके लिए कुछ सर करिए, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, हेजिंग वहाँ पे कैसे कर रहे हैं आप लोग नाइजीरिया में, मैक्सिको, ताकि हमारा कुछ जो एक्सेस लॉस है वो कुछ कम हो सके सर।
देखिए नाइजीरिया, इजिप्ट और ये जो इकोनॉमी है उनमें जो डॉलर और फ्लक्चुएशन वर्सेस लोकल करेंसी हुआ है, ये ना आपके हाथ में था ना हमारे हाथ में था। दे आर इम्पोर्टेंट मार्केट्स फॉर अस, वी आर ए लॉन्ग टर्म प्लेयर इन दिस। इट्स द सेम सिचुएशन जब आप इक्विटी मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करते हो और आपके पास 2013 वाला भी पीरियड आता है और आपके पास 2024 वाला भी पीरियड आता है। तो 2013 में जो कमजोर दिल थे वो सब इक्विटी मार्केट से भाग गए थे सर, और 2024 में अब जिसने इक्विटी मार्केट नहीं भी देखी थी वो भी इक्विटी मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करने की बात करता है। तो सर हमारा भी जो वहाँ पे बिजनेसेस हैं, 2-3 साल हमें भी वहाँ पे टफ लगता है आंसर्स देना, क्यों आप ऐसे कंट्री में काम कर रहे हो जहाँ पे इकोनॉमी, जहाँ पे इतना डॉलर लोकल करेंसी का डिवैल्यूएशन हो रहा है एंड ऑल दैट। बट सर ये सब ट्रांसलेशन लॉसेज है, ये कोई रियल लॉसेज तो नहीं है। अगर मेरे को नायरा की बैलेंस शीट से उसको रुपी में कन्वर्ट करना है और नायरा डेप्रिशिएट हो गया है रुपी के लिए, तो मेरे को वो लॉसेज रिपोर्ट करने पड़ेंगे एज पर अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड। बट व्हेन आई लुक एट माय लोकल बैलेंस शीट, नायरा में मैं वहाँ पे बिजनेस करता हूँ, वो बैलेंस शीट मेरी ठीक है सर, उसमें कोई इशू नहीं है मेरे को।
सर वी आर नॉट सिटीजन ऑफ नाइजीरिया, वी आर सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया, सो वी नीड टू गेट अल्टीमेटली इनटू डॉलर। सो सर मेरी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट खाली थी कि कुछ फंडिंग का इंतजाम किया जाए कंपनी में ताकि फाइनेंस कॉस्ट कम हो। ये मेरा बेसिक नंबर 1। नंबर 2, हेजिंग को ऐसी कीजिए ताकि वहाँ पर जो इसका नाइजीरिया में, मैक्सिको में जो एक्सचेंज लॉस हो रहे हैं वो लॉस कम से कम 50% 40% कुछ कम हो बाय डूइंग सम बेटर हेजिंग डेरिवेटिव।
सर वो डेरिवेटिव तब होते हैं जब आपका एक्सपोजर हो, जब आपके पास में आपने नायरा में सेल करी 500 करोड़ रुपए की, अब आपकी वहां बैलेंस शीट तो ठीक है, अब आपको रिपोर्ट करनी है वो इंडिया करेंसी में, तो को जब करंट रेट ऑफ रुपी वर्सेस नायरा में करोगे तो वो रुपी में कम आएगा, इसलिए उसमें कोई एक्चुअल कोई कैश फ्लो या कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है सर। दे आर नोशनल लॉसेज ओनली, दे आर ओनली ट्रांसलेशन लॉसेज सर।
तो सर वो कम तक हो सकता है कि जब हम उन कंट्री में जो फर्दर एक्सपेंशन कर रहे हैं उनकी मार्जिन ज्यादा हो, उनकी मार्जिन ज्यादा हो, हमारे पास ऊपर कुछ ज्यादा आएगा तो ये वाला लॉस भी बर्दाश्त होगा। मेरा बोलने का मतलब है आप से ठीक कोई दिन वाइंड अप करेंगे वहाँ पर नाइजीरिया में तो हमको $2 कम मिलेगा, $1 कम मिलेगी वहाँ से। सो दैट इज द रियल लॉस ऑल्सो व्हेनेवर वी डिस्पोज ऑफ द एंटिटी। सो द पॉइंट आई एम ड्राइंग इज दैट if we can increase the margin or the gross profit from the products of Nigeria, Mexico, Egypt, then at least हमारा ऊपर में जीपी ज्यादा आएगा तो हमारा नीचे एक्सेस लॉस भी आता है तो भी हमको बर्दाश्त हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। सम एक्शन मस्ट बी टेकन बिकॉज सर 1.5 साल से जो हमारी इतना भयंकर हमारा पैसा डूबा इसके अंदर में, यदि 1.5 साल और चला गया इसी तरह से तो खुदा न खास्ता फिर कंपनी की हालत बहुत नाजुक हो जाएगी सर। मेरा बोला बिकॉज अभी देखिए आप इंटरेस्ट आपका 550 से 700 करोड़ होने वाला इस साल एनुअली। आई एम ओनली अलर्टिंग यू वेरी 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 सीरियस क्वेश्चन सर।
ठीक है सर, अभी मैं और कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा इस पे। कंपनी की हालत बहुत अच्छी है, बिल्कुल नाजुक वाली कोई भी आपका अच्छा है, आप तेल में सेट करते हो।
सर इतना पैसा इसमें जा रहा है फाइनेंस को, इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ कि एटलीस्ट इफ द प्रमोटर कैन मेक सम प्रिफरेंशियल अलॉटमेंट और सम मनी इंजेक्टेड इन द कंपनी, एटलीस्ट आवर फाइनेंस कॉस्ट व्हिच इज द रियल आउटगो कैन बी रिड्यूस्ड।
चलिए सर,
ठीक।
Thank you very much. A reminder to the participants to limit your questions to one per participant in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all the participants in the conference. The next question is from the line of Aman Kumar Santhalia from AK Securities. Please go ahead.
Sir, we have developed some very high value BOPP film in Hungary. So can you throw some light on this product and how it can scale up, and what is the value addition in this product?
Sir, I think इसके लिए we will have to connect offline on this to give you more perspective, where I can take my technical people also, and but मोटा endeavor ये है कि अभी जब margins affected हैं इन सब territories में, तो you do more of the value added films. वो वैल्यू एडेड फिल्म के लिए हम लोग कोटिंग लाइन मैक्सिको में भी लगाई हैं, हमने मशीन डाली हैं, और हमने इजिप्ट में भी डाली हैं, और हंगरी में भी वैल्यू एडेड फिल्म जितना हो सकता है वो करेंगे. वो कॉन्टिन्यूज एंडेवर है, वो कोई एक बार का नहीं है. बट ये होता है जब मार्जिन थोड़ा सा इम्पैक्टेड हो तो उस टाइम आप इसको ज़्यादा विग्रेसली परस्यू करते हो. बट we are happy to share details with all this offline.
And sir, ये फ्लेक्सिबल बिजनेस में जैसे अभी राइट नाउ ये जितनी भी FMCG कंपनी है, they are not doing, there is virtually very little growth in the FMCG कंपनी. और ये हम लोग का फ्लेक्सिबल पैकेजिंग वाला बिजनेस है, ये कैसा दिख रहा है आपको आगे मार्जिन वाइज एंड ग्रोथ वाइज?
सर, फ्लेक्सिबल पैकेजिंग जो हमारा बिजनेस है ना, में कोई अगर आप बोलो कि कोई बहुत ज़्यादा हम लोग देख पा रहे हैं उसमें, वो नहीं है. दैट इज ए स्टेडी स्टेट बिजनेस फॉर अस, वेयर वी आर नीदर ग्रोइंग नॉट श्रिंकिंग. वी आर ओनली ट्राइंग टू इम्प्रूव आवर प्रोडक्ट प्रोफाइल टू मोर ऑफ पाउचिंग, less of roll form, where the margins are higher. So we are not, you would have seen over the quarters, the volumes in that business are closer to about 20,000 tons a quarter. So we don't have a surplus capacity, much surplus capacity, and we are not planning any further capacity to take that business forward. Having said that, उसमें एक्सपोर्ट्स में जहाँ पे पैसे ज़्यादा मिलते हैं, मार्जिन ज़्यादा मिलते हैं, ओरिएंटेशन ये है कि एक्सपोर्ट्स में थोड़ा बढ़ावा दिया जाए, क्योंकि लोकल मार्केट में बहुत कट थ्रोट कॉम्पिटिशन. Some of our large customers, I will not name them, when they work in India market and they work in the world market, their behavior, things with respect to onboarding a vendor based on just the pricing is very much different. So these large customers will never onboard a vendor who is not a renowned name in the converting industry and all that, but somehow in India their behavior is different. It's more price sensitive market, so that is why the competition in some of the products is much more. So we looking to realign our portfolio in that business, both domestic and in the export market. You will not see much volume gain and all that over there. We are only saying कि उसमें value added products हम कर ले, export बढ़ा ले, ताकि उसके margin profile improve हो जाए. But कोई capacity बढ़ाने का कोई विचार नहीं है उसमें.
सर, ये फिल्म के अंदर में why should we are not focusing more on value addition? क्योंकि ये प्रोडक्ट कमोडिटी से अगर हम लोग वैल्यू एडेड फिल्म की तरफ जाएं तो आई थिंक हम लोग के मार्जिन्स आगे बढ़ेंगे और ये जो सिक्लिकल नेचर है उसमें हम लोग निकल जाएंगे.
Absolutely right. We had 22 and 23 as one of the best years for the packaging films industry. जहाँ पे and during those years each and everything was selling. But when everything and each and everything is selling, and that too at a good price and all that, your focus is what? Your focus is to increase the throughput so that you can produce and sell as much as possible. It's not only me, it's everybody else in the industry did that. 24 was a slightly difficult year after Russia-Ukraine crisis, and after the raw material prices corrected sharply in FY24 because of the supply chain stabilizing, and that brought in a lot of stock losses because after raw material prices डिफरेंट जुरिस्डिक्शन में जहाँ तक हम काम करते हैं 45% तक गिर गए। 40 रॉ मटेरियल, आपके पास रॉ मटेरियल पड़ा है, आपके पास फिनिश गुड पड़ा है, वो तो लॉसेज आपको इमीडिएटली आ जाएंगे ना। उसके बाद स्टेबलाइज होंगी जब नया स्टॉक एक प्राइस पे आएगा एंड ऑल दैट। तो वो थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट ईयर था, बट उसके बाद में थिंग्स आर क्वाइट गुड नॉर्मल। Q1 में आपने हमारा भी रिजल्ट देखा, बाकी सबका भी देखा, Q2 में भी आपने देखा, तो मार्जिन प्रोफाइल सबका बेटर हो रहा है, बोथ इंडिया एंड ओवरसीज। पॉलीप्लेक्स, जिंदल पॉली का तो नहीं आता है, SRF, you can see everybody's profile. Everybody has done better performance in Q2 versus Q1 and in Q1 versus Q4 of FY24. Now, having said that, this is the time when we said we started that exercise in FY24, where I said that we were looking to the more value-added products. And in the years to come, surely we are oriented towards that, and you'll see much higher, throughput of the value-added products in FY26 and beyond.
वन लास्ट क्वेश्चन सर, हम लोग कुछ नॉन कोर एसेट्स को बेच करके डेट्स को कम करने का क्यों नहीं सोच सकते, क्योंकि वी आर सिटिंग ऑन लॉट ऑफ एसेट्स। तो ऐसा कुछ एसेट्स है जिसको नॉन कोर है, जिसको हम लोग बेच करके डेट्स को कम कर पाए?
सर ऐसा कुछ, मतलब एक साइड में जहां हम और एक्सपेंशन कर रहे हैं ताकि प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी बढ़े एंड ऑल दैट, लुकिंग टू मार्केट्स, सेम माइंडसेट में सर आप नहीं हो सकते इन द सेम पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। ऐसे कोई नॉन कोर एसेट्स हैं भी नहीं कि जो हम विच वी विल लुक टू सेल इट ऑफ, and neither there is a mindset of that sort. The mindset is grow, streamline, go for a better value-added products, and improve your margins. Distinguish yourself from the normal industry products, and give option to the customers for the higher value-added products. तो वो माइंडसेट से काम हो रहा है सर। वो डिफेंसिव माइंडसेट वाला काम नहीं है कि यार ये बेच देंगे तो कुछ ये हो जाएगा, कुछ ये हो जाएगा। वैसे तो कुछ ऐसा मेरे को लगता भी नहीं है कुछ है हमारा, बट और कोई ऐसा माइंडसेट नहीं है सर। इट्स ऑल ग्रोथ ओरिएंटेड एंड रेवेन्यू मैक्सिमाइजेशन एंड प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor Company. Please go ahead.
जी भाटिया जी, धन्यवाद सर आपका। सर जब हम जून से सितंबर क्वार्टर का Q1Q कंपैरिजन करते हैं हमारे नंबर्स का, तो हमारे पीबीटी नंबर्स 105 की जगह 61.62 करोड़ दिखते हैं। तो इसको सर हमें कैसे पढ़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि एबिटा के जो नंबर हैं वो तो डेफिनेटली एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग बनाता है, बट जब हम पीबीटी में जाते हैं इसमें तो कोई वन ऑफ आइटम नहीं होना चाहिए। तो ये डिक्लाइन को आप कैसे एक्सप्लेन करते हैं?
सर ये डिक्लाइन, द ओनली रीजन फॉर दिस डिक्लाइन इज द कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट दैट हैज बीन मेड। जैसे हमने सर अप्रैल में एक हमने इंडिया में जो पेट चिप्स का प्लान शुरू किया था, जो हमने रशिया में सीपीपी फैसिलिटी का प्लान शुरू किया था, और एक आधा कुछ और होगा जो हमने मार्च एंड में जो कमीशन किए हैं जो प्रोजेक्ट्स, जिनका Q1 was the first month of that childbirth, Q2 is the second month of that childbirth। तो ये जैसे स्टेबलाइज होंगे एट ए हायर कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन, सर इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट तो ये नहीं देखती कि आपको अभी कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन आपकी 35% है 50% है, वो तो 100% ऑफ कैपेसिटी के हिसाब से इट कम्स एंड हिट्स योर P&L. So as and when those projects, those investments which have been made are utilizing a higher capacity utilization level, so obviously your EBITDA will become higher, which will offset the higher interest costs. The only difference is when you set up a project, complete a project, the interest cost comes and hits you on the day one of 100% of the capacity, and your capacity utilization gradually only goes up. और वो मिसमैच हमेशा रहेगा अंडर अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज अलाउ कि जितना आपका कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन है उतना इंटरेस्ट आप P&L में ले जाओ और बाकी का इंटरेस्ट आप एसेट्स में कैपिटल एसेट में हाइड कर लो, बट वो अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो है नहीं, तो वो आपको डे वन से हिट करता है.
सर दिस इज क्लियर दैट जो आपने कैपिटलाइजेशन किया है वो Q1 में हुआ है, क्योंकि डेप्रिसिएशन तो हमारा नहीं हिला है. वो 173 करोड़ था जून में भी और सितंबर तिमाही में भी 173 करोड़ ही रहा है जस्ट, बट फाइनेंस कॉस्ट डेफिनेटली 162 से 177 करोड़ हो गया, तो 15-16 करोड़ का हिट हमको वहाँ आया है. बट अगर सर इस लाइन को भी हम एक्सप्लेन करें कि अदर एक्सपेंसेस में सर क्या चेंजेस हुए कि सीधा 50 करोड़ का फर्क करीब करीब आ गया है ऑन द हायर साइड.
इंटरेस्ट में सिर्फ इसी वजह से चेंजेस आए हैं क्योंकि आपने प्रोजेक्ट कैपिटलाइज करे 31 मार्च को ना.
नहीं सर, मैं इंटरेस्ट
के बाद में डेप्रिसिएशन इम्पैक्ट आता है बिकॉज डेप्रिसिएशन इज फॉर ए मच लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, तो उसका आपका इम्पैक्ट आता है 20 साल के ऊपर. सो द इंक्रीमेंटल इम्पैक्ट इज मच लेस. ऐसा नहीं है वो नहीं है, वो भी इम्पैक्ट है इस क्वार्टर में, एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन है, बट इंटरेस्ट का ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट आता है आपका क्योंकि इंटरेस्ट नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन आपका किसी भी टेरिटरी में चले जाओ तो आपका डिपेंडिंग ऑन द यूजफुल लाइफ ऑफ एसेट्स 4 से 5% आता है एनुअलाइज. इंटरेस्ट का डिक्शन में चले जाओ आपका मिनिमम 10% आता है यार. 10 से भी ज्यादा आ रहा है बिकॉज अभी करंटली जैसे इजिप्ट में लोकल इंटरेस्ट रेट, नाइजीरिया में लोकल इंटरेस्ट रेट, इंडिया में तो 9-10% है, बट इन सम ऑफ द अदर टेरिटरी आर ऑल्सो हायर. डॉलर में भी जो बोरिंग्स हैं, जब बेस डॉलर पर 3 मंथ सोफर ही बढ़ गया पिछले सालों में, इम्पैक्ट है.
सही है सर, लेकिन अदर एक्सपेंस को आप समझा पाएंगे सर कि किस कारण से इस नंबर को, ये नंबर 498 की जगह 547 करोड़ हुआ?
कौन सा नंबर सर?
अदर एक्सपेंसेस Q1Q जब हम देख रहे हैं तो
ऑफलाइन बता देंगे आपको, वील टेल यू ऑफलाइन.
अच्छा ठीक बात सर. इस बरस के लिए सर हमारी करंट मैच्योरिटीज क्या है सर स्टैंड अलोन कंपनी में, क्या हमको रीपे करना है और हमारा कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड क्या है करेंटली?
हमने आपको बोला था कि करीब 1000 करोड़ के करीब हमारा नॉर्मल अमोर्टाइजेशन सालाना रहता है. इस साल भी उतना ही होगा, हो सकता है 950 हो किसी साल में 1000-2500, मतलब इट इज इन दैट रेंज होगी. एवरेज कॉस्ट ऑफ बोरिंग शुड बी अराउंड 10%.
10%. You mentioned 10% सर?
यस सर.
और हमारी करंट रेटिंग क्या है सर?
Our current rating is AA-, long-term rating is AA- CRISIL, and short-term rating is P1+, which is the highest level of rating.
Okay. And current year की मैच्योरिटी 1000 करोड़ रुपीस है, आपने ये नंबर बताया, जो हमें 1000 करोड़ रीपे करना है इस बरस.
And outlook of our ratings is stable.
ठीक है साहब, बहुत धन्यवाद भाटिया जी, बहुत धन्यवाद सर. आपने बहुत ही कैंडिडेट डे में हमारे सभी प्रश्नों का सही उत्तर देने की अपनी तरफ से भरसक चेष्टा की है. बट सर इन्वेस्टिंग कम्युनिटी जहाँ भी क्लैरिटी नहीं रहती है वहाँ इन्वेस्ट करने में उसका रुझान नहीं बनता है। तो पॉइंट्स बस यही है कि सर थोड़ी और सिंप्लिसिटी आए स्ट्रक्चर में, थोड़ी सिंप्लिसिटी आए नंबर्स में, तो फिर निवेशक को भी रुझान सही बनता है, उसको सही आउटलुक दिखता है। बाकी सर एसेट हैवी बिजनेस है, हमें भी समझ में आ रहा है कि जब साइकिल टर्न होती है पॉजिटिव में तो कैश जनरेशन भी हायर साइड पर ही आने वाला है। बट यही पॉइंट्स है सर जिनके कारण से निवेशक सही ढंग से कंपनी को मूल्यांकन नहीं दे पा रहे हैं। वी आर अनेबल टू वैल्यू द कंपनी करेक्टली बिकॉज ऑफ दीज फैक्टर्स ओनली। सो वी शुड वर्क इट आउट सर। और सर ENY का सर क्या रोल है हमारी कंपनी में? डू वी हैव देम एज एन IR और कंसल्टेंट? अर्थ एंड यंग का
They do the internal process audit for all our businesses, all our units.
ओके। एंड IR के लिए सर हमारी टीम में हमने किसी एक्सटर्नल IR को भी हायर किया है?
IR के लिए PwC है जो हमें हेल्प करता है, बट आई थिंक वी लुकिंग फॉर क्योंकि उनका कोर हो सकता है ना हो। हम देखते रहते हैं, लोग हमसे मिलते रहते हैं, तो कभी उचित लगेगा कोई और तो देख लेंगे कि वही किसी और।
जी सर, ठीक है भाटिया जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर एंड ऑल द बेस्ट सर।
Thank you very much. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the engaging questions. We will soon have the transcript of this call on our website, www.uflexlimited.com. We look forward to speaking to you again in the coming quarters. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of Dolat Capital, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.